NASCAR on Fox from Daytona. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, reminding you to get there on triple tread technology with 3 unique tread zones for unsurpassed traction in any weather. 5 leaders, 6 lead changes, just a couple of cautions so far, and about 68 laps to go. Kurt Busch leading Ricky Rudd and Kyle Busch. Jeff Hammond, let's take a look at those most recent pit stops.
Yeah, we saw a lot of action as far as coming into pit road, and some of it was good and some of it was bad. A lot of guys trying to get on pit road. You can see the tire smoke on the 19 car, locks it up just before the entrance of pit road. And he wasn't the only one, Chris, that was doing that. Everybody was trying to get on pit road and make up some ground. Here comes the 41 car, Reed Sorensen. He's got right front locked up, but one of the big losers in this last round of pit stops was the 31 car of Jeff Burton. If you notice the jack man right there, Josh Yost, very slow, hopping around. He's had an ankle injury from a previous pit road incident, and if you'll notice, they had to take him away back to the medical center. He is really in a lot of pain right now, and that pit stop put Jeff way back in the back as far as he's back now on 17th position.
Let's check in with Matt Yoakum, who has more. Matt?
Chris, speaking with a trainer from Richard Childress Racing, apparently when Josh went around the car, he felt something pop. They have tentatively diagnosed it as a popped calf muscle. So they are taking him to the infield care center to check that out for more.
Kurt Busch at the front of the field, not the front of this draft. David Gilliland a lap down just ahead of him. Kurt is back in the lead after pit stops. Ricky Rudd, the outside pole sitter in the 88, has popped up to second. Kyle Busch in the 5 is third. Johnny Sauter, the yellow transportation number 70, is in the top 5 for the first time today, and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. 99 Carl Edwards, 17 Matt Kenseth. 7-car lead draft. Kevin Harvick is 8th. Tony Stewart up to 9th after a good stop, and David Stremme is 10th.
And Johnny Sauter, that 70 car, he's a teammate to Jeff Green. That was one of the cars that came to Daytona, a brand new race team essentially. They were not locked in the field. They cut a fast enough lap last Sunday to get in the field. Here they are in the top 5.
Well, this is a pretty fast field of cars. I want you to look at our average speed right now. It's 168. And the record for this race set back in 1980 was 177, and that was unrestricted. So these cats are getting it on, boys.
Johnny Sauter is one of 7 drivers whose fathers have raced in the Daytona 500. Let's go to his pit. Krista.
It is a great run for the yellow transportation Chevrolet. The handling on this car has really been good all day, but what makes this even more amazing is that back on lap 80, the car was jumping out of gear. They had to put a cord around the shifter. It was a long stop. They have made their way all the way back up through the pack, currently running a top 5. In fact, the car's so good, the 66's teammate is using the same setup. Dick?
How hard was Tony Stewart on the brakes as he tried to get on pit road? Look at this. He burned all the rubber off this tire, and the tire went right down flat. Good thing that thing had an interliner in it.
So we sat down and hammered it out.
And right now, that 20 car, Tony Stewart, remember, had that speeding penalty about 50 laps ago. He has now worked his way into the top 10 up in the 9th position. So he's working his way back.
And that can affect strategy at the end of this race. If you came down and say you wanted to just do a quick dump a can of gas in and go, you got to get on pit road without hurting that tire like that.
Now, Mike, you mentioned David Gilliland in the 38 car, right now a lap down. When they came to back to pit road to repair that fender from getting wrecked on pit road, he lost the draft. But Darrell and I were watching the scoring monitor. Out there by himself, he was only about a half a second slower than the guys in the pack. Now, by virtue of the green flag stop, he ended up with the pack. What David Gilliland needs, though, with only 63 laps to go, he needs a caution soon where he can work his way back up to the front if he wants a shot at winning this race.
137 laps complete. You ride with Kevin Harvick. He is the fastest car on the racetrack right now, in 8th place, lapping 0.4 of a second quicker than the leader.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR.
Kurt Busch still leading Ricky Rudd. Today's Allstate Good Hands driver. Watch number 40, the silver car, David Stremme. Had the hands and hung on. Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR. There is Stremme, currently running in 9th place behind Kurt Busch, Ricky Rudd, Kyle Busch, and Tony Stewart, who in another 3 laps is probably going to be leading this race. Stewart has climbed into the top 5. Overcome a pit road penalty. has worked his way back up through. Tight draft on Kyle Busch, threading the needle, and you have a look at Stewart's day.
Now, one of my favorite words for drivers is anticipation. You got to anticipate on the racetrack, and you got to anticipate things that are going to happen in the course of a race. We get a chance here. I noticed in one of our in-car shots there a minute ago, the sun is really playing havoc with these guys coming off of turn 4. That could have an effect on the pit stops that are coming up next time, because you're going to be blinded as you exit 4 trying to hit your mark to get slowed down to get in the pits. Look at that right there. And it's getting better all the time because the sun obviously is setting, but it's really a problem for some guys.
And Darrell, we're about 30 laps away from that next pit stop. We are down to the fact that if we stay green, this would be a 1 pit stop race to get to the end.
Let's have a look at the defending champion of the 500, 48, Jimmy Johnson. Turn 4.
See, there's a car just almost like in a 4-wheel slide, and it snapped loose with him.
You can just see that his hands, he's just kind of hanging onto that thing. He's not driving that car. He's just a passenger. It's going where it wants to. 3,400-pound horse monster right now.
Boy, a number of drivers have had up and down days. Ricky Rudd started outside pole, went all the way to the back. Had a great pit stop. Now he's in 4th place. And Matt Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been up and down the leaderboard today, currently 14th.
Right now he's sandwiched between Ryan Newman and Reese Sorensen, and his spotter Steve Meal trying to not only help him run through the back, but also trying to help him get around here, seeing possibly his car may be better out front. They were going to try to work a deal with Newman, and then Junior just said simply, my car is not going to be good out front like it is right now. Let's just go ahead and ride. Meal also said, like you touched on, about the tear off. He says the track is getting shaded. If you want to pull your tear off, go ahead and do it now.
And on this shield, we put those dark tints on the shield for the sun, but then anticipating that it's going to get dark before the race ends.
Things have gotten busy in this lead pack. Kyle Busch now tacked on to big brother Kurt.
Well, there's 2 races going on up front right there right now. The 07 and the 38 are trying to be the first car a lap down for the lucky dog.
And of course, the 07 is Clint Boyer. He had that penalty on the last set of green flag stops where he hit the commit cone, had to come back to pit road. That's how he's a lap down.
Get the door. It's time for the Domino's Hot Lap. Let's see how our 5 top qualifiers ran on the designated lap. Tony Stewart's jumped out of that pack to tack on to the Busch brothers. Then Gilliland and Rudd in the bottom lane. Clint Boyer pulls them around the top side.
Well, what you're seeing now is this group right here more than likely thinks they're the ones that's going to decide who's going to win the Daytona 500. And they're really starting to feel each other out, I believe, and see who's got what.
And based on what I've seen on pit road, it could be those groups down there, if we indeed go green for another 25 laps, that could actually decide the Daytona 500.
Yeah, this next stop has to be mistake-free if you're going to win this race. Getting in and in the pit.
I think Ricky Rudd is probably going to be quickest of our Domino's Hot Lap cars. We'll see. Who's the fastest of the top 5 qualifiers? Lap 147. Jeff Gordon was the quickest of those cars on that lap with a 48.42. So there he is, even though he's back in 29th place. Track may finally be coming to the setup underneath his Chevrolet.
Didn't he tell us we look at these monitors too much, particularly in practice? Because he can get a fast lap by being back there in behind the right cars.
Second place side by side. Congratulations to Jeff Gordon, fastest driver of today's Domino's Hot Lap. Congratulations to all the fans who selected Jeff today. you're entered to win a trip for two to the August race in Michigan.
Boys, don't look now, but Tony Stewart, he has friends behind him. It's taken him almost 60 laps, but he's up there battling Kurt Busch in the 2 for the lead. He was 40th 60 laps ago in that 20 car, and he's going to get the lead going down the backstretch.
Can't if Truex can get up there and give him a little help. But here comes his, well, I don't know. I thought Kyle would jump down there and help Kurt, but he didn't. So far, he hadn't.
That's at least twice that we've seen Kyle Busch in the 5 car jump up there with Chevrolets and leave his brother. But now he looks like he's coming back to the bottom as Johnny Sauter in the 70 moves into the picture.
Oh, you can change your mind several times going down into a corner depending on where they are on the track.
Who'll lead this lap? It'll be Busch on the inside, but Stewart appears to have more help.
Getting tight, boys. Things are tightening up. You know what, Larry? The sun's going down. I know it's not hot, but the sun's going down. I believe the grip might be picking up just a little bit.
And how about that Army car, that 01 car, Mark Martin? He's worked his way up in the thick of this pack, sitting there running in 7th position with 50 laps to go.
And he had been in the wall. I saw the right side of that car on that last around the pit stops. Mark had been in the wall pretty good, but looks like it didn't hurt the Hamlin any.
Tony Stewart, for the first time in the last 70 laps, is going to lead the Daytona 500 for the second time today. Anyone surprised?
How we doing here, Hall?
Not really. I'd say you're doing pretty good there, Smoke.
Two-time series champion Tony Stewart back out front in the Daytona 500.
For me in the final laps.
Uh-oh, there goes Tony. Oh, my goodness.
Crash in turn 4.
Man,
and there in the midst of it sits Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch, the 2 leaders.
I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe Tony got a little loose all at once.
Kurt Busch, the 2 will go straight to the garage, Jerry.
I'm worried about you. I ain't worried about that car.
That was Greg Zipadelli, Stewart's crew chief. And the strongest Chevy and the strongest Dodge in Daytona are wrecked.
Let's watch it. I don't know if Kurt got into the back of Tony or not. Let's wait till we get around here and see. Tony's car just Tony hit the apron. He got down on the apron. He got a little bit loose. Kurt was all over the back of him, and there he goes.
Tony's dropped the window net on his car. That's a signal to safety workers that he is okay. Watch the yellow line.
Yeah, watch the left front tire. Gets it on the apron just a little bit. You see the car wiggle, and he gets loose. He's got to probably lift out of the throttle a tad. And here comes Kurt. Cannot get off of him. They make contact.
And then once Tony gets sideways, nowhere for Kurt Busch and the 2 to go.
What a shame.
You're doing 185 miles an hour, Darrell. The car in front of you suddenly loses several miles an hour of momentum. Was there anything Kurt Busch could do to avoid Stewart?
No, you could see he was trying to get down. He was trying to get underneath Tony to get away from him. It wasn't possible. He did everything he could do.
And remember, they had fresh tires. This is a racetrack where you run wide open on the mat. Just listen.
Just that little, you hear the throttle, and that's all it takes.
Tony Stewart's 9th try to win the Daytona 500 will come up short. We can show you the speed of Kurt Busch's car going through here. Sorry, we don't have that telemetry on the 20. But we'll give you an idea of how Kurt Busch tries to scrub off speed as Stewart loses his momentum. Busch is in the number 2.
These guys are quick, but they just can't. This happens too quick. See the car wiggle ever so slightly. Tony, you heard the throttle on the other replay we had. Tony had to work the throttle, and Kurt's just closing at probably another 5 or 8 miles an hour.
Boy, and how close it was for Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Carl Edwards, Johnny Sauter, all those guys.
Kurt Busch may have been on his way to winning the Daytona 500, and now his Penske team will have to try to rebuild that car and get him out to cycle around the track to pile up as many Nextel Cup points as he can.
Kurt had a car here last year that could have won the race. and had a very similar situation, taken out in a wreck.
He's finished second here twice in the 500, never won it. And with all the other 41 cars still running, this could be a huge hit in the points right off the bat for both former champions, Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch.
And the timing of this caution, we've been talking, Jeff Hamm and myself, this entire race, these teams can run about 45 to 48 laps on fuel. When they come back around, there will be 45 laps to go in the Daytona 500, so this could be a pretty critical pit stop. You can't afford a mistake now for sure, guys, on pit road.
Kurt Busch involved in the crash. His younger brother Kyle inherits the lead. Outside pole sitter Ricky Rudd, who is currently in 8th place.
And obviously got a very good race car.
It is Rudd's 29th attempt to win the Daytona 500. Second in the over category only to retired driver Dave Marcus.
And when he made that first start in 1977, Kyle Busch was not even born.
Chris Devoda is with Kurt Busch.
Yeah, the window net is down, but obviously Kurt Busch very disappointed. Let's see if we can get a word with him. Kurt, I know the disappointment has just got to be huge. You were running up front. Can you give us any indication to how the melee happened?
I couldn't hear you, but we had a good run on the 20 car, bumped into him a little bit, and we both got taken out of the Daytona 500 off of my mistake. So I hate it for my guys. They work real hard at putting together good cars, and our sponsor Miller Lite and everybody that's involved with the team. We're real poised for a good run towards the end here, and we just got bottled up, a bunch of guys sliding around, and I made the first mistake. So I apologize to the 20 car. I know it doesn't help any. He's been a great friend at all these restrictor plate races. So we'll dig out of this, and we'll be back next week in California.
All right, Kurt Busch talks about being bottled up right now, bottled up in his car with tons of emotion.
Yeah, and I believe he's just been a little too hard on himself. He has not seen the replays. I believe when he does, he won't feel quite the responsibility, even though I'm sure he wishes he could have gotten off of Tony and not gotten into him. But I think he's beating himself up a little too much right now.
Let's look from the Goodyear blimp, and I think you'll see, as Darrell pointed out, that Kurt Busch likely had no opportunity to avoid Tony Stewart.
When you see Tony's car wiggle right there, that's just all it took. It takes that little bit of momentum away. Here comes Kurt running wide open with his brother Kyle pushing, and he can't turn under him quick enough to get off of him.
If Kurt Busch could have slammed on the brake and scrubbed off enough speed, Kyle's into the back of him.
Yeah. There's no, I promise you, there's nothing you can do except you try to be evasive as you can, miss that car, but you see he clipped him just a little bit.
Yeah, once again, this is not a racetrack where the drivers roll out of the throttle, get in the corner, pick the gas up. You're wide open on the mat all the way around this racetrack.
Well, remember, we said it's a momentum racetrack. You never really lose your momentum. You can back off the throttle and hit the brake. You're still going to be doing 170 mile an hour.
Two of the biggest favorites to win this race are in the garage. Two-time Nextel Cup champ Tony Stewart and past champion Kurt Busch. Everyone else awaits their cars on pit road, which will be open this time by with 44 laps to go.
You know, you used to come down here and watch Dale Earnhardt win everything under the sun. Sunday would come, and he would always have something happen that kept him from winning the Daytona 500. I was thinking that very same thing when Tony was leading.
Steve Burns with the leader.
Hey, Mike, Alan Gustafson told Kyle Busch, just be very smooth, hit your marks, which he does. They're going to raise the track bar just a little bit on that 5 car, and Kyle wants windshield attention. He said he ran through some fluid. Dick.
Mark Martin in the pit's going to take 4 tires on that car. He's one of the veterans, 22 starts. He has never won the Daytona 500, but has a good car today, Matt.
DEI picker coach Walt Smith calling for a mistake-free stop. Don't throw it away now. Great stop by the one guys. They are already away. They wanted just to free it up slightly, not over-adjust for what could be their last stop of the day.
And we'll get more reports, but the best I could tell, it looks like for the most part, most all the leaders went with the 4-tire strategy, again, considering there's 44 laps left in this Daytona 500.
And there are still 38 cars on the lead lap as you see the results of the race off pit road. Truex, Mark Martin, Kyle Busch, and there may have been some contact involving Carl Edwards and Johnny Sauter, the 99 and 70.
Well, as they say, this changes everything.
We say that often, don't we?
We do.
Yep. Sauter was pulling out, trying to avoid J.J. Yaley's pit crew members.
Probably not going to hurt the 99 car. I could question the damage on that fender, though, on the 70.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. By Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done. By Pizza Hut, want more cheesy bites? Get America's favorite pizza. And by Toyota, moving forward. Two laps to go. Martin Truex the leader. 4 Chevys. Mark Martin, Kyle Busch, Johnny Sauter, and Matt Kenseth. Pacing the 49th Daytona 500 is the 2007 Chevy Corvette Z06 with 505 horsepower and a top speed of 198 miles per hour. Chevy is the official pace car of NASCAR. Tony Stewart, 2-time NASCAR champ. 11 wins at this track, but no Daytona 500. Leading for the first time on lap 49. Trapped in the pits, a Gilliland miscue, a speeding penalty. He restarts 40th, trying to get out on pit road. Then he retakes the lead from Kurt Busch, leading a total of 35 laps until, with under 50 laps to go in the Daytona 500, down on the apron. Kurt Busch can't pull back. Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch both out of the race as we rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Both drivers are okay as we get ready for the restart. Martin Truex Jr., the past Busch Series champion, has never finished better than 15th at Daytona in a Nextel Cup car. But here he is driving for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, leading the field down for the restart with 41 to go.
And that team really came on strong at the end of last year. Martin Truex with Bono, Mannion, crew chief. They were really finished up strong last year.
Finished second at the final race at Homestead Miami Speedway, but now we've got 41 laps to go in the Daytona 500. One car you'll see missing at the front of the pack, 99 Carl Edwards, came in running third. They had a penalty on pit road for rolling a tire across pit road. He had to go to the tail end of the longest line. Hard fight for that 99 car now.
Well, he's got some company back there because Gilliland got back on the lead lap. We know he's fast. Maybe they can get hooked up and work their way back to the front.
Inside line, big head of steam. Matt Kenseth leading them down the backstretch. Martin down to block. Kenseth goes high.
I mean, Kenseth went to the bottom and all the way back to the top in that 17 car.
I think you're going to see some pretty aggressive driving from here on out. That give and take and that I'll let you in stuff, it's over.
And I'd say a lot of the friendships are over too. You work with who can help you the most.
Mark Martin, second place, his 23rd try to win the Daytona 500. He's in that 01 Army car, ahead of Ryan Newman and trailing Martin Truex.
Boy, Kyle Busch up on the outside there. That looked treacherous.
As they come off turn 2, Tony Stewart is out of his car, speaking with Chris Devoda.
We've caught up with Tony Stewart coming out of the Care Center. Tony, we just spoke with Kurt Busch. He adamantly apologized. He said it was his fault. What's your take on the incident?
I don't know. I was just in the center of the corner and all of a sudden it took off on me. So, you know, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what happened. But pretty impressive to go to the back and get all the way back up to the front like that. I was really happy. That Home Depot Monte Carlo was awesome today. I mean, we fought back. We kind of were in a bad position that one pit stop where we had Robbie Gordon coming in, toward the tail of the field. We were ready to go, and I stalled it trying to get out ahead of him, and then him and the 38 get together, and they're wrecked, and it just got us to the back, and then I just wasn't paying attention to my pit lane speed, and it was my fault and got us behind. So just got us to the back, but I was proud of, I thought it would be a little quicker than it was getting to the front, but it took a lot longer than I anticipated. The cars are just so tight back there and so hard to drive back there if you're in bad air, but just proud of these guys. I mean, they never got worked up. I never got worked up. We were back in front.
Tony, you're out of the 500, but you're able to smile. Is that going to be a testament to the confidence you have in your season?
I'm excited. I mean, these guys have done such a good job all week. I mean, our Chevy was fast. I mean, every time we were on the track, it's been fast. So, you know, it just wasn't meant to be today. So, just real proud of everybody at Home Depot, all 350,000 associates that were rooting for us today. We'll come back next year and get one.
Sometimes the greatest drivers seems like the greatest race eludes them, and this is another one of those times for Tony. I feel sorry for him. It's a great effort they put forth, he and the whole team.
Stewart was the car to beat today, whether in the front or in the back of the field.
See teammates Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, Casey Mears in the 25. Now Matt Kenseth in the 17 getting help from his teammate Jamie McMurray in the 26, but Mark Martin, who was Matt Kenseth's teammate for a number of years, moved up in front of Matt. Martin Truex Jr. is driving out the back window as much as he's driving out the windshield right now in the 1.
One's got a push in the 17.
Here comes everybody. Jeff Hammond, 37 laps to go, and the vise is tightening.
Yeah, the door is wide open right now, and Mike, what I'm seeing down here, can you imagine if Martin Truex Jr. could drive that one car into victory lane? He would be the 3rd DEI car to win the Daytona 500. And oh, by the way, the 17 car, Matt Kenseth, back here in 3rd place. Maybe history's going to repeat itself with a substitute crew chief winning the Daytona 500 for the 2nd year in a row. Guys?
Great point, Jeff. You're absolutely right, especially on the substitute crew chief. Of course, Robbie Reiser, Matt Kenseth's crew chief, suspended for 4 weeks. Chip Boland standing in place, and right now he's sitting up there in the 3rd position. 36 laps to go.
And conditions are ideal now. The wind has died down. The track has picked up some grip. We're going to see this kind of racing to the finish.
This looks like the Budweiser Shootout or Thursday's Gatorade Duel. 3 wide. Way deep through this field.
And the thing about it is, once those fast 2 front cars went out, Tony and Kurt, it opened the door for so many people to get up here and have a shot at winning this thing.
Top 20 cars within 1 second as you watch from the Goodyear blimp.
Isn't that incredible? I mean, here we are. We're almost, you know, we're almost to the end of the race, 500 miles, and we got these guys. You can throw a blanket over them. They might need one as chilly as it's been.
In your mirror, both lanes are coming back.
Boy, he got a hold of pretty wheel here now.
Both lines are coming back to you. 0112 on the bottom, 1726 up top.
That is Truex's spotter. He's the leader on the outside. Here comes Mark Martin.
He opened the door on the bottom side. Right now on fresh tires, it just looks like that bottom line is what's prevailing.
One ahead of that group behind you. You don't have a lot of help.
Oh,
the 01's on the bottom by
I don't know
himself.
about y'all, but I hear thunder.
Oh, yeah.
I'm probably going to see lightning here before long.
Here you go. Now you're clear either lane.
You know, even though Mark Martin drove for Roush Racing in that 6 car for 19 years, he felt like even driving part-time, this is going to be his best shot at winning a Daytona 500.
Well, you would. I mean, you're hearing a Hendrick car, basically. I mean, the guys that work on it at the 01 team certainly prepare it, but you know you've got what it takes to win this race. It's been done with Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon.
Speaking of whom, look who's coming up the middle. Jeff Burton in 31 and Jeff Gordon in the 24 with him. They're carving out their own lane right in the middle, and they're making progress.
Boy, it's getting tight back there. 3 wide will not work. Here comes Gordon, making it 4 wide down the back straightaway.
And they're starting to just bounce off each other. You can only get away with that until the tires start to give up.
And that's when Gordon's car's been so good on fresh tires, the 24.
And right now you're driving for all you're worth. You know you can't lift. You know you can't back out and let them get away, because this is the race right here. You got to keep up. This is when I want to hear my crew chief saying, you can do it, you can do it.
Side, he's got a big help with the 26 pushing. The 01 and 12 are coming back to you. You'll feel it. Big push from behind, still outside.
Well, you know what I love? This is how we started today, and this is how we're going to end today.
Oh, yeah.
Question, can you hold your breath for 33 more laps?
And you know what? Out of the top 20 right now, we only have 2 previous Daytona 500 winners, Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. up there.
I'm sure Jamie McMurray is saying, hey, this is cool.
You bet. He's in the 26th, right behind.
Figure out where you're good. We'll save that for later. Still outside.
McMurray right behind his Roush Fenway Racing teammate, Matt Kenseth. Ford Racing celebrating Ford's long history of making bold moves on the racetrack. dating back to 1901 when Henry Ford competed in his one and only auto race, beat Alexander Winton driving a car called Sweepstakes, and that got Henry the backing he needed to start the Ford Motor Company.
Johnny Sauter in that 70 car took it to the high side, making it 3 wide. I mean, look at this gaggle of cars back there coming to 31 laps to go.
Just when you think that it's all settled down, it's going to be between a couple of guys, guess what? It's between about 36 guys.
You know what's going to be the hardest phone call to make tomorrow morning? Hey, we finished a second behind the leader. Oh, yeah, we were 21st. The Fords have ganged up on Martin Truex, and now it is Kenseth and McMurray out in front, but only by a car length with 31 laps to go. Matt Kenseth had drafting help from Jamie McMurray, still does in the outside lane, then Kyle Busch. On the inside, Martin Truex and Mark Martin, then Carl Edwards. Casey Mears moves up into the top 10 for the first time today, along with Reed Sorensen, Ryan Newman, and Johnny Sauter. It is still anybody's race with 27 laps to go.
And look at that 99 car, Carl Edwards to the inside. Remember, he had to restart after the last caution at the tail end of this field. There he is up in the top 5.
Yeah, he shuffled the Mark out, got a nose under him. Mark gave him some room, and there they go.
There's Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car. Here we go.
Tony Raines with him, Denny Hamlin.
That was inevitable. It had to happen. You can't be this late in the race, be bunched up like that and not have trouble. Holy cow, did you see that shot? Snapped his head around. Thank goodness for those big headrests.
Caution is out for the 3rd time today. David Rudiman crashed.
There's several more back there.
And this all started somewhere back about the 15th place.
They're breaking down.
Jimmy Johnson, last year's winner and the series champion, crashed.
He's okay. He's trying to get it cranked up and hopefully get it back to the pits. That's David. That's Rudiman there. In the 00, there's Tony Raines in the DLP car, 96.
Jeff Green in the Best Buy Chevy. All the worse for wear.
See if we can determine how this all started. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
Watch 66 in the middle. Nope, it's in front of him. It's
48 car just lost it.
Gosh. Right.
I mean, right in the middle of the straightaway.
I mean, it's almost like a tire went down or something, because a car, to make a move like that, either something broke, a tire went down, because the car doesn't move like that on the straightaway. 11 car going by there, Denny Hamlin. He got damage, as we saw. Oh, there he starts way back up in there. He gets loose coming off. That's got to be a flat tire. Man, he hit that outside wall a ton.
And just nowhere for all these guys to go. There you see, they just started stacking up on the inside.
And where Johnson hit the wall was after where the safer barrier in turn 2 ends. So he hit the concrete and bounced right out into traffic. Let's ride with Jimmy.
Right in the middle of it.
Oh,
nowhere for these guys to go.
That makes.
Excuse me, that's David Rudiman. Here's David Rudiman.
Go.
Wish I could.
First replay was from Tony Raines' car. Now let's ride in the low Chevy.
No, I don't think a tire went down. I never heard anything. I think he just got loose.
Crash, guys, we got big loose. Got up the wall. You all right, Jimmy?
Leaders on pit road. Krista.
Matt Kenseth is in, and he has put the decision on Chip Bolin, his crew chief for this race. His engineer, who's been with him forever, they're making an air pressure adjustment, a pound of air. They did not want to waste any time on pit road. Matt is away.
4 tires for Jamie McMurray. No other adjustments on the number 26. He's away, Matt.
Truex in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, the 2-time champion, says his car is spot on for the 2-time Busch Series champion. His teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. says his car is loose in the middle lane, but really good overall.
what did Mark Martin do? Because he picked up 6 positions on pit road, as did Reed Sorensen, Johnny Sauter.
I think who this really helps, Mike, is the 24 car, because he's pretty good on new tires for about 25 laps.
Well, I'm pretty sure the 01 car probably just went with 2 right side tires because he only had about 12 laps on those last tires.
Oh. Jamie McMurray gets in the back of one of Mike Wallace's crew, exiting pit road.
Goodness.
We'll update that story when we come back.
The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Chevy. The most wins in NASCAR history on American Revolution. By Goodyear, innovative technology to help you get there. By Degree Men, more power than you need, one day you'll need it. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh.
Under caution as you ride with the Chevrolet of Jimmy Johnson on the rollback truck back to the garage area and out of this race. Now watch Jimmy Johnson. Here he is at the top of your screen as this unfolds from the Goodyear blimp.
Car's been pushing all day. I think they just freed it up too much is what happened. He just gets bad loose right there. He tries to keep up with it. Try not to lose any positions. Try not to get out of it, but drives it right in the wall, and then here comes the field. I think you can probably hear him pedaling it if we can get some sound.
Jeff Green has gone to the garage with crash damage. Ryan Newman has pulled into the garage area with possibly engine trouble. And Mark Martin, trying to win the Daytona 500 for the 23rd try, is out in front. What's our Nextel getting it done call of the race? We'll look at those front 4 cars right now. Mark Martin, Carl Edwards, Reed Sorensen, Johnny Sauter.
We've got about 12 laps on their tires, on their left side tires. And like Daryl and I were talking at break, you've got 20 hard laps of racing to go where you're going to have to really maneuver that race car.
So the call to take just 2 tires might be our Nextel getting it done call of the race. Nextel helps NASCAR and NASCAR fans get things done.
And it could be the call to take 4 too.
We'll know here in about 20 laps.
Let's get going. Wait, see. I want to find out.
31 cars are on the lead lap. There's Montoya in the 42 in his Nextel Cup debut, 1 lap down in 32nd. Martin, Edwards, Sorensen, and Sauter got 2 tires. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and they're on back. Got 4 tires. Let's take this restart from our DLP Ultimate Picture Cam above the start-finish line at Daytona International Speedway. Night falls. 21 laps to race.
20 laps ago, Carl Edwards of 99 restarted at the tail end of the field. Now he's restarting up in second.
The guys, the possibilities of who could win this race keep changing every 5 laps now.
Watch the speed build on Mark Martin.
Reed Sorensen sitting there in 3rd, and Johnny Sauter, and look out, old Red's coming on the outside.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car, he's getting help up there.
And he's got friends because everybody will go with him.
But he left his friends. We went back to the bottom. He was getting a push from Greg Biffle in the 16, still getting it.
Well, what'd we say at the start of the day? That yellow line is your best friend.
You still have the help. Clear high.
Ooh, Carl, be careful. I know you don't want to get past, but you got yourself in a bind, dude.
Now you see Kyle Busch in the 5 car. He's going to push on Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car.
And Carl, because of that move he made, he's trying not to lose a spot. He loses a whole bunch of spots. One bad move can cost you this race.
Mark Martin raced Fords for Jack Roush for 19 seasons, 674 consecutive races. Now he's behind the wheel of a Bobby Ginn Chevrolet with Hendrick Power, and he's in front of the Daytona 500 with 20 laps to go.
And he's got to be sitting there all smiles, loving it.
What's going to be interesting now with about 19 laps to go, we've seen Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car a lot like Jeff Gordon. He's good on fresh tires. Can he be good on into a run on tires?
Well, there's his buddy right there. I tell you, that 1 car was good over that last long run we had. He and Dale Jr. might be able to get hooked up and do something. We know the 5's good. He's been in the top 5 all day long. So we've got some players here that are good, but they're being kind of held up right now by some guys we haven't seen up there all day.
But Darrell,
Greg Biffle, for Pete's sake.
We have seen the 16 car. We've seen this all day long where these guys are good on the bottom on fresh tires.
Next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox at California Speedway, the Auto Club 500. These same drivers, whole different set of thrills.
Oh, yeah.
Not only are they thinking about the big trophy that you get to win this race, but you get the big check, too. About $1.5 million bucks. That'll make you hold her wide open when you don't want to.
The defending champion of the Daytona 500 is in the garage with Krista.
Jimmy Johnson, it's been an up and down week for you, and it ends on a down note. You are not going to be able to defend your Daytona 500 title.
Yeah, that's definitely disappointing. These guys work so hard at Hendrick Motorsports. Can't thank them enough for the race cars that they give me in the sport from Lowe's. Unfortunately, we crashed today, got loose in the center, and thought I had it saved, and things snapped back to the right and into the fence. So, disappointing day, definitely.
Talk about the hit, too. You're okay?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely was a hard hit, but everything did its job inside the car, and I'm fine. Thank you.
There's his teammate Casey Mears in that 25 car. He's in the middle with no help, just continues to lose spots all the way down the back straightaway.
Last run of green flag racing, we were 3 wide all the way around. So far in this run until just now, we've been double wide.
I think you've got 2 guys there that don't mind, or 3 guys actually. There's 2 guys right behind Mark Martin that have the most respect in the world for him. Greg Biffle in the 16, Matt Kenseth in the 17. Mark was their mentor at Roush's, and here they are following him, possibly to his first Daytona 500 victory.
And then that 3 wide pack, the middle row, Kyle Busch in that 5. He's made some bold, daring moves today, but he keeps finding a way to get to the front. Let's go down to Dick Berggren on our race leader, Mark Martin.
Did you see that?
Well, 48-year-old Mark Martin has won a lot of stuff here at Daytona. He's won here in sports cars. He's won here in IROC. He's won in NASCAR Craftsman truck racing. And he won the 1999 shootout. But he has never won the Nextel Cup point race. He is out front for the Daytona 500. This would be the biggest win of his career. No doubt about it, Mike.
Third in 1995 was Mark Martin's best Daytona 500 finish.
Mark has never really liked Daytona. I mean, he'll tell you right quick, it's not my kind of racing. But I bet he's liking it right now. I bet he's warming up to it. What do you think?
And right now, while that group back there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Elliott Sadler, and the other 30 cars behind them are 2 and 3 wide, the front 4 is pulling away just a little bit because they were in single file with about 15.5 laps to go.
Well, when this next caution occurs, that's good news for Mark Martin, because they just had many less laps on his tires.
We're going to leave you for about 2.5 laps and then come in and race all the way to the checker. You're watching the Daytona 500 in high definition on Fox. 4th caution of the day in the Daytona 500. Check that 5th caution of the afternoon. Our computer scoring a little latent there. And from high above.
It's what you call a wad right there. They get all wadded up, and the 25 and the 99, and 99 gets in the fence. 26 was involved. Jamie McMurray in the 26, Carl Edwards in the 99. See Joe Nemechek in the 13, bumps into Carl, but in the meantime,
this was not quite what brought out the caution. Watch the yellow cat car.
He gets forced into the pit lane. Here's what I don't think he realizes. He's got a flat right front tire.
150 miles an hour. Blaney is trying to scrub off speed.
And just nowhere for Ken Schrader, the 21 car, to go.
Or Boyer in the 07 car. I don't think he realized he had a flat tire, and when he got to the end of pit road, he couldn't turn.
Came right out in front of Ken Schrader. Clint Boyer also damaged, and Schrader's Little Debbie's car is a wreck. Remember, Schrader and Buddy Baker were the 2 drivers to win on Sunday and then on Thursday and have a shot to win the 500. Schrader will drive most of this season. Tough way to start. Look at this great camera work, folks.
Yeah, Jamie McMurray forces Casey Mears in the 25 into Carl Edwards outside there on the 99. They get in the wall, really kind of tore up some cars, but no real damage done until the 22 gets forced on the pit road.
Yeah, Mike Wallace got into the 22 Blaney, who took evasive action.
Come on, come on. Stay in there.
Riding
Come
Clint
on.
Boyer.
Come on. Come on. Back off there, Rick.
Our DirecTV cam giving you those pictures from Clint Boyer's car.
Darrell, I'm like something you said earlier before this caution. I think this is good for Mark Martin right here. Remember, he only has those 2 fresh tires. This gives a chance for all 4 tires to cool down just a little bit.
And the thing that I think is really good for Mark Martin is the 2 guys behind him. I know they want to win. I know Biffle and Kenseth both want to win the Daytona 500, but I believe they would want Mark to win it more.
I would not disagree with that.
23 years of trying for Mark Martin. You see Montoya moving on past. He gets the free pass. He'll be back on the lead lap when we restart. Dick Berggren.
Well, talk about some eavesdropping. Mark Martin's crew is listening to other team radios. Crew chief Ryan Pemberton is radioing to Mark what he thinks the competition behind him is going to do based on those radio conversations and his best guess of how they're liable to try to gang up and beat Mark Martin to win the Daytona 500.
Mike, Larry, I tell you, you look behind Mark, got 2 of his buddies. You got Truex back there, who's got a good race car, but then you got Elliott Sadler. He's got to be thrilled to be running 5th. You got a couple other guys back there. Jamie McMurray, you see some of these guys be happy to finish right where they are.
Still 13 laps to go and anything can happen. Earlier, one of Mike Wallace's crew members got run over by a car exiting the pits. Steve Burns can update us.
Yeah, Mike, what we know is Jeremy Gator is the rear tire changer on the 09. Jamie McMurray did get into his ankle, as you mentioned. He was alert, awake. The EMT folks were working with him. They put ice on his ankle and wrapped it up, and he went to the infield care center. Again, his name is Jeremy Gator, but he was alert and looked to be in very good spirits.
Well, Steve, Jeremy will be happy to know, though, that 09 car of Mike Wallace, a car that just barely got into the Daytona 500 by racing in on Thursday, is up in the top 15 in 14th spot.
12 laps to go in the Great American Race. Only on Fox.
On the corner of Main Street, just trying to keep it in line. I got the green light, I got a little fight. Gonna turn this thing around. Read my mind. I don't mind if you don't mind, 'cause I don't shine if you don't shine. Before you jump, tell me what you find. Read my mind.
10.5 laps away from deciding a winner in the Daytona 500 as you watch our aerial coverage from Goodyear, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for 25 years. Goodyear, get there. Darrell, for Mark Martin, he needs to get out front, but he doesn't need to get too far out front on this restart. Let's listen in.
All right, Mark, 16's talking about wait and letting you get a run, letting you get out there, and then trying to get a run on you. And they're talking about maybe doing it on the last lap or something like that. So just be ready for that. Make sure you don't do something that gets you too far out in front. Roger.
All right, we're coming to get the green, and what Mark needs to do is he goes through the restart here just like normally. Get it back into 4th gear down here in 1 and 2, and then drag the brake just ever so slightly to keep those cars behind you right up tucked underneath of you, because if they do get a run, they will blow by you. And see how that's exactly what Mark is doing. He's keeping the 16 right close by. Don't let him get too much of a run, because
if a big lead right now would be bad.
Oh yeah, no, you're a set and duck if you get way out there.
They kicked Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car up out of line. Kyle Busch below the yellow line. As long as he does not advance his position and gives it back, he'll be okay. Yellow line is like out of bounds.
9 laps to go this time.
Great restart for Mark. I mean, that's exactly what he needed to do. Now he has to worry about what are they going to do at the end.
And the irony, Mark Martin raced for Jack Roush for 20 years. Now he has to try to hold off 2 of Roush's best to win the 500.
And there's a third Roush Fenway car back in 5th, Jamie McMurray in the 26 car.
Boy, and the 17 is loose right there. Holy smoly. Hang on to her there, Matt.
And wouldn't John Henry, now the co-owner of Roush Fenway Racing, love to go to victory lane in his first ever NASCAR start as co-owner?
Well, somebody's going to try to mess this party up, and it might just be that little yellow and blue car with 5 on the side of it.
Kyle Busch has been fast all week long. He's around the bottom of the racetrack. He's got the position on Kenseth in the 17.
And you really can't. You go where you can now. This isn't about friends and buddies. This is you go where you can. You make your best move. You take your best shot.
Jeff Burton, 31, the bright orange car, got under Jamie McMurray, and now he is there to give Kyle Busch drafting help in the bottom lane. 8 laps to go.
And we're seeing our pole sitter, David Gilliland, in the 38 car that was a lap down not that many laps ago. He's up there fighting to get in the top 5.
You know, I just had a feeling he was going to find his way back up there. He did that in the Bud Shootout the other night, finished 2nd. He is the fastest car in the field, I believe.
Kyle Busch up to 2nd place.
About all Mark Martin can do is what he's doing right now. Hug that yellow line, listen to a spotter, keep one eye up there in that rearview mirror.
You got that right, and all he's got to do is not open that bottom up and let the 5 car get a nose under him. If he ever shoves him out of line, it's all over.
16 is side by side behind the 16.
7 laps to go. Lot of jostling from 5th on back.
And Darrell, it looks like what Kyle Busch will do is going into the corner, move up, and if he can get Mark to move up, that's when he'll stick that nose in there.
Tony Stewart, the other night, what's that slant?
Smoke.
Oh, it's water. Somebody's hot. Tony Stewart the other night put a crossover move behind Kyle Busch, got him loose, and made the pass.
That overflow Reed Sorensen.
There he goes. He got him up.
He got him loose, though. Kyle Busch got Mark Martin loose, but he stayed in the throttle. It got back to the bottom of the racetrack.
You know why? You know why Kyle Busch did that? Because it's Mark Martin. He didn't try to push it. He didn't push the issue.
Behind them, they are 4 abreast.
6 laps to go.
What a race. What a finish. Goodness gracious. Mark Martin, hang on, baby.
Watch your bottom.
29 cars within 2 seconds. Packed tighter together than at the start of the race.
That 31 car, where did he come from, Larry? He's all of a sudden the 3rd car back, that orange car.
Jeff
Burton. All of a sudden he shows up.
Another ex-teammate of Mark Martin, Jeff Burton.
He's surrounded by ex-teammates other than the guy in the 5.
Kyle Busch. Jeff Burton walked up the racetrack, got on the side of Greg Biffle in the 16. Now he's going to lose all these positions.
Now,
the 17. The 17 is going to be in trouble. He saved it.
They are 4 wide through the trial with 5 to go.
Tires are smoking, sheet metal dragging, and we're still racing.
But you got to stay in that throttle now.
Look at the dent on the front of Stremmy's car there, the silver car. Tire smoke from the 17. Nobody's going to lift now. There's just 4.5 laps to go in the Daytona 500.
What do you think? Oh, there's a car in trouble.
Jamie McMurray, the 26 car, bounces off the outside wall.
And around they go.
Ricky Rudd, the 88 car. Caution will be out.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And remember, when the caution comes out, at the moment of caution, the field is frozen.
What do we got? 5 laps to go, 4 to go this time. It looks like we may get a green-white checker here.
McMurray is done. Rudd and Earnhardt trying to make it back to the pits.
Boy, Junior's car is crunched.
We will have Stock Car Racing's version of overtime. This race is scheduled for 200 laps. But if we complete 200 laps under caution, we will go to overtime. We'll explain that in a minute. First, let's look at what happened.
I think.
Watch the right side of your screen. McMurray up high.
I think he may have got a little shove from behind. I'm not sure. It looked like that's Kenseth in the 17.
And they just started stacking up from there.
Yeah, the 88 car looked like Rudd just kind of ran in the back of the 26 of McMurray, and boy, from there on, it was on.
I think Rudd had a car to the outside, Darrell. Probably not much he can do.
Probably couldn't.
The Goodyear blimp will probably show us our best angle of how this unfolded. Now watch McMurray on the left of your screen in the high groove, the purple car.
I'm pretty sure that Kenseth's got in the back of him. Looked like maybe Jamie may have had to lift out of the throttle just a little bit. And here comes the rest of these guys. Like I said, we're coming to the end of the race. You don't lift now.
And Darrell, Ricky Rudd could not swerve to the right because Earnhardt was there. And they just all stacked up.
Tight racing quarters. Tight. Yeah, you see McMurray get around there with Matt Kenseth right behind him. Jamie in the 26. Smoke, and you can't really see a lot with the smoke. Car starts swerving. Oh, Rudd got hit from behind. It looked like maybe Dale Jr. lifted him up.
Even though McMurray straightens out, suddenly he's 20 miles an hour slower than everybody else. And here they come.
All you can do is drive and hope that a hole opens up. There's no stopping. You drive it to the bitter end.
There's nothing a spotter can do for you there.
No, you just got to drive through it.
Ricky Rudd's view.
Now listen to the hit he gets from behind. And in an incident like that, you can't get your hand up. You can't signal. You say, hey, I'm slowing down. You don't have time to slow down.
And Ricky Rudd's 29th try to win the 500 is over.
And that's just how fast it happens right there. You got a car down on the inside, the 40 car. Strimmy, he's down there smoking. You got the 26 in the wall. Here comes 17.
Wow, it just all started stacking up.
He did.
You know, Jamie McMurray had a car probably good enough to win this race a year ago and almost had the very same thing happen in the exact spot a year ago.
It's just a real nightmare as a car owner and a driver to run all day long, have pretty good car, maybe get a decent finish, get the year started off right, and end up like that on the hook.
Now the race is going to be red flag. They will stop the cars coming off turn 2 and clean that area up and then restart them. And the procedure will be when the track is clean, they will wave the green flag. Next time around, they'll wave the white flag, and then the second time by, the checkered flag will end the race. However, after that green flag waves, if there is another caution, the race is over. That's NASCAR's version of overtime.
Now, last year we had 5 races actually end under caution. I think we had like 7 green-white checkers last year.
Last year's Daytona 500 went 203 laps because of overtime. Jimmy Johnson the winner. We still have 28 cars on the lead lap.
I think some of those may only be partial cars.
Greg Biffle's fiance Nicole. Biffle sits in 3rd. Well, you know, time to check in at the Hollywood Hotel.
It's getting that time.
Check it out.
All right, well, we'll be busy next Sunday. NASCAR on Fox heading to California. Last year, Matt Kenseth took home the checkered flag after engine trouble sent Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle into the garage. So what's going to happen this time around? They'll be using unleaded fuel, by the way. First time in a Cup race. In that race, you can tune into the Auto Club 500 presented by Q next Sunday, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. That's in high definition right here on Fox with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers in our Hollywood Hotel observing some of the action. And boy, when it gets late in the race and it gets tense, you see how things take place and unfold.
Well, you know what I'm thinking about doing right now? I'm going to cover my eyes because it's getting ready to get even worse as we go further in this thing, because when they drop that green flag on this restart, it's going to be everybody for themselves, and nobody's going to care about the guy in front of them except trying to get to the front, because there's a lot of money at stake. Plus, we've always talked about it. When you go in that victory lane here at Daytona, you come out a changed man.
Well, and our guys have talked about Mark Martin. I mean, all the tries at the Daytona 500, finally out of a Jack Roush Ford and into a Chevy. But to hang on and win this race, he'll have to fight off a guy like Greg Biffle, who, of course, was a former teammate of his.
A teammate of his, but at the same time, you look back here at Kyle Busch driving for Hendrick Motorsports, and we know those cars are very, very fast. And this is the time that you're trying to sit there and maybe kind of psych a guy out. You're maybe looking over and you're looking at that car. There's Greg Biffle right there. I wonder what he's thinking. You look across the way, there's Kyle Busch, and they're looking back at you, and you're wondering, have I got enough to get by?
David Gilliland, the pole sitter. A pole sitter hasn't won the Daytona 500 since Dale Jarrett did it back in 2000. He's worked his way back up to 4th. Elliott Sadler currently 5th. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
The field is stopped off turn number 2. The lights are flashing atop the safety car, and that's a jet blower to help clear the track of debris. And that super stretch grandstand full of flash bulbs going off is probably the best shot you're going to get, is when these cars are stopped, as we wait for the track to be cleaned and we can restart. Bottle of water, sir.
Yeah, a little drive-through service there.
Driver service.
Yeah, they take care of the driver. You know, there's not 9 as many as there was a while ago either.
I believe he's seeing if Dale Jarrett in the 44 car has a right rear tire going down.
Oh, he likes those chrome wheels.
Remember when we had a red flag and Sterling Marlin climbed out of his car, tugged on the fender, got penalized, didn't win the Daytona 500.
No, he didn't.
Back in 2002.
I think that's the one that Ward won.
Correct. We have a new tool for NASCAR on Fox this year. It's called Fox 3D. And we can take any car in the field, and through GPS positioning, a little video game type animation, we're going to follow Jamie McMurray through all this. As he gets sideways, cars go by, and without all of the smoke, you get a good idea of what happens as McMurray rolls through that crash scene, and where he tipped Martin Truex. That's how the front end damage happened on Truex's car.
Cars look a little cleaner after that accident on that.
Yes, they do.
With that.
Red flag. We're waiting to restart the Daytona 500. Let's check with Dick Berggren.
Ryan Pemberton is Mark Martin's crew chief, and after a long career in Nextel Cup racing, Ryan has just one win. Your driver never won the Daytona 500. What's he got to do to win it today?
Well, he's going to have to put his elbows out and be wide there and make, a lot of good decisions in a couple corners, because they're going to be coming, they're planning on getting a run on the outside. Then if that doesn't work, they're going to try the inside. So there's a lot of good cars right there behind us, a lot of fast cars, the 5, the 16, the 38. You know that they're capable of running fast. So he's going to have to make a couple good moves. Hopefully they'll get too wide behind us, and we can pull it off.
And there is a lot of tension on this pit box, Steve Burns.
Well, Dick Berggren with Alan Gustafson, who grew up just 10 minutes from this racetrack. He is Kyle Busch's crew chief. I heard you tell Kyle, awesome job, but what can you tell him now? It's down to a shootout.
It's down to a shootout. I can tell him we lost 2 races with no tires and 2 tires, and we've got 4 and he's got 2. So we're real happy about that. The CarQuest Kellogg Chevrolet has been good all day long. These guys have done a great job. All the guys back in the shop. Kyle's done a real good job. You know, Kyle doesn't get a lot of credit for being a real good drafter, and I think he's proven he's really good at this speedway stuff.
Good luck, Alan. Let's go to Matt.
And back at the hospital, we're catching up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. First off, Jr., tell us from your vantage point what happened.
We were coming off 2, and I just saw sparks on the wall. I couldn't see what was happening in front of me. I was tucked in behind 88, and I guess some guys were wrecking me and 88. I ran 88 into it, but we couldn't really stop for it, so just took us out.
I know you're trying to tell your spotter to tell Martin Truex, your teammate, that if he could find somebody a little stronger to go with it, are you guys going to change up your engine package possibly when you go to Talladega?
I would like to. We didn't bring a good bullet to the fight. You know, we didn't have everything we needed to have. We're normally a lot better than this, and it was very frustrating to try to get out there and make things happen, and the car just wouldn't cooperate. But I made some moves too. I mean, it wasn't all the race car there at the end. I wasn't making good moves, and everybody was 3 wide. You didn't know which lane to be in, and it seemed like everywhere you went, it was the wrong lane. But just frustrating. We've had really, really good stuff down here. We need to look back, and we need to just, Yates is still running great with what they have, and it's probably because they're doing the same thing they've been doing all these years, and we used to really be good, and I think that if we look back and try to get our motors back in that power range and those RPMs that we used to run would be better, but we ran a little more RPMs this weekend with a higher package, and just didn't work for me.
Bad luck, 2 straight restrictor plate races for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Bud team. Krista?
All right, back to the crew chief roundtable. We've caught up with Pat Tryson, who is now the crew chief for Greg Biffle in the number 16 AmeriQuest Ford. Okay, so you had some help with Matt Kenseth. That's now gone. What's going to happen here on this green-white checker finish? You've got a Ford back there in David Gilliland. Are you going to get some help with him?
I'm not sure what they're going to do, but the AmeriQuest Ford Fusion's been great all day. Greg's done an awesome job, and I'm hoping the 38 stays with us, and we try to get a run on the 5 and the 01 and see if we can't get a Ford in victory lane, and hopefully get Greg his first Daytona 500 championship, and we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping the Fords stick together, and if the 38 doesn't get to us, we got some 2 teammates coming. Hopefully that'll give us a good push.
All right, yeah, and he said we were looking for his first Daytona 500 win. Greg Biffle did win at this track in July, but this one, Chris Myers, is just a little bit bigger.
That's right, Krista, and in OT, in a sense, those crew chiefs like coaches. If we were talking about a football game, preparing for that extra period here, and in fact, Ryan Pemberton, his brother Robin Pemberton, former crew chief director of a competition for NASCAR at a time where some drivers are without their regular crew chief in this race.
Yeah, we're seeing several of those cars right now, and they're running quite well. I mean, the 19 car of Elliott Sadler is up to 5th, and I also want to point out the fact that Pat Tryson used to be Mark Martin's crew chief a year ago at Rouse. So there's a lot of things I think that are kind of like bizarre and funny that's kind of coming down at the end of this race with 3 laps to go. We've got drivers up there I really honestly didn't really expect to see there.
All right, and here's a quick recap of the whole day. 500 miles, the Daytona 500 started with 30-year-old David Gilliland on the pole. He led the first 18 laps, running in his first ever Daytona 500, and back in the hunt. You see Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, both the Hendrick cars smacking the wall. Gordon hit it twice during the course of the day. Kurt Busch taking the lead. In fact, Kurt Busch has led the most laps in this race. Tony Stewart leading a couple of times, trying to get in front of Kurt Busch after having led earlier, then finally does take the lead after working his way back from 40th. But then down on the apron, Kurt Busch can't hold up and gets into Tony Stewart, who was leading at the time with 47 laps to go. And an apology later from Kurt Busch. Martin Truex Jr., one of the DEI cars, briefly out in front to lead out of that caution. 27 laps to go. Last year's Daytona 500 winner, Jimmy Johnson, involved in a 5-car wreck.
Yeah, he gets loose right there off of turn 2, which we've seen a lot of action there all day long. Big wreck there, but Martin beats Carl Edwards off of pit road and kind of sits the stage right here toward the end of the race, and then all of a sudden Carl Edwards gets in the wall with a little bit of help from one of his teammates, and another incident getting ready to occur when the 22 car comes all the way down pit road with a flat right front tire back up on the racetrack in front of the 21 car of Kenny Schrader, triggering another part of this accident.
Carl Edwards taken out, Reed Sorensen, Ken Schrader, Clint Boyer also involved, and then with about 5 laps to go, Jamie McMurray appears to get bumped, and then Junior actually maybe got into Ricky Rudd, creating another mess that has us here as we have had 9 different leaders, 12 lead changes, and currently under our 6th caution on the red flag out.
Well, right now the biggest thing is, Chris, everybody has got an opportunity to kind of catch their breath, take another deep breath, and get ready for these final 3 laps. And I promise you right now, we'll be nail-biting.
So it's the Daytona Survival 500, and Jeff, of the drivers there, obviously Mark Martin in the lead, even though he's never won this in 22 previous tries, given his experience. Is he the guy?
Well, he's the guy right now, because I've heard it said too many times by too many drivers this week, if I can get out there in front and have the clean air, I can drive my car where I want to. So I think he's going to have the ability, if he can just keep on that bottom. Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip have said all day long, protect the bottom, force the guys to go to the outside. But he's going to have some help.
And what a day for David Gilliland, his first Daytona 500 on the pole, up to 4th in the 38 car. A kid from California who played high school golf with Tiger Woods, handling big-time pressure. His crew chief is standing by with our Steve Burns.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. The Cinderella story's still alive for David Gilliland. You told me this afternoon, Todd, we were just going to have to tell David to be patient. What a great job you guys have done to rally back.
Yeah, you know, we had that trouble on pit road, you know, just before halfway in the race, and he got in the 7 car leaving the pits, and you know, elected to come back in the pits, fix the fender, get the damage fixed, and you know, we come out of the pits, probably worked on it a little bit too long, and you know, got too far behind the draft and lost it, and you know, luckily we had a fast enough car to stay out front, and get the lap, you know, first car lap down, get our lap back, and we've got a great race car. This M&M's Ford Fusion's been great, and we've got a pretty doggone awesome race car driver for the first time at Daytona. I was watching the pre-race show, and him getting lost coming in this place. It's pretty cool to be sitting here 4th in the Daytona 500 with a green-white checker, and hopefully we can put this car over in Victory Lane and over in Daytona, USA. But all in all, I'm so proud of this whole team. You know, Robert Yates Racing in general this week has done an awesome job, and we'll just see what happens. Getting ready to go back green.
Good luck, Todd.
Thank you.
Mike?
They have refired engines, and you see the cars moving out behind the safety car. There are still some 30 cars on the lead lap here, and we've been listening in to conversations between Mark Martin and his team.
Need to find Jeff Burke. Need to find somebody that'll be my friend, Jeremy, here in this deal. I know everybody's for themselves, but we got a shot at this thing. Need if this thing scatters, we need some helpers. We can win this thing.
Thoughts of Mark Martin. Darrell, Larry, of the top 10 drivers in the field right now, we're going to have 2 laps to race. None of the top 10 drivers have ever won the 500.
It's amazing that you can come to the 500-mile race like this and end up in a situation like this. What I look is the emotion. Look at Mark Martin. He's got a former teammate in Greg Biffle back here in 3rd. And David Gilliland has got Elliott Sadler, the driver of his car, last year in that car.
You just saw Jack Roush as an owner. He's never won the Daytona 500. And remember, 2005 was going to be Mark Martin's final year in Cup. Jack Roush talked him into driving that 6 car again last year.
And again, and again.
Coming up tonight on Fox, The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, and American Dad. A fun night on Fox. But first, we have the Daytona 500 to conclude. We're going to race 2 laps, green, white, checker. If the caution comes out again, the race is over, and NASCAR will use any and all available information, including video from all of our Fox angles, 90 cameras strong, to determine the order of finish at the moment of caution. Hopefully that won't be needed.
And Darrell, Mark Martin has been making restarts in Nextel Cup for 26 plus years. He's fixing to make the most important restart of his career.
You know, it's not just the first race for all of these teams at Daytona. First race of the season for NASCAR on Fox. Barry Landis in the producer seat with Richie Zients and Artie Kempner and all of the folks, over 200 people strong it takes to put on this telecast for you to enjoy. Great pictures, great replays, and we're happy to have all you folks at home along for the ride.
Here's what I think will happen. I mean, it's just I think that David Gilliland is going to help Mark Martin win this race. He may not mean to, but I think David Gilliland doesn't want to mess up. I believe that Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle will hop to the outside and try to go around Mark. Then Gilliland will run right up behind Mark and push him home.
I'm with you, Darrell, because what we've seen from David Gilliland, who won the pole at Talladega in October and won the pole here for Daytona, is he likes that yellow line and his car works well at the bottom of the racetrack. So, Larry, if Mark stays on the bottom as the leader, Gilliland will fill in behind Mark Martin, and we'll see where Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle go.
And that's exactly what David Gilliland did a week ago in the Budweiser shootout. He stayed on the bottom. He was content to run second.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's impressed me because he's got that thing that we always talk about. Don't beat yourself. And he's done that all day long. Had trouble in the pits, but he overcame it, and now here he sits with a good finish.
Mark Martin was a driver who beat himself. His first try at Nextel Cup Racing, not too successful. He went back in the Midwest to run ASA, and then he and Jack Roush got together for a 20-year partnership that produced everything except a Cup championship and a Daytona 500 win. So Mark, as you said, he retired. He came back for Roush last year. Went back into semi-retirement. Bobby Ginn says, I need you to come and help us with young drivers. Drive most of the season in this Army car. Help Regan Smith get adapted. Mark said he'd do it. He says he's having a blast.
I've said all along, he will help that company because Mark knows how a car's supposed to handle and what it's supposed to feel like. I believe that's something he brought to the table. That's a real asset.
This is it, folks. Cinch your belts up, because when they wave the green flag this time by, we will race up to 2 laps to determine the winner.
Mark Martin right now truly is an army of one.
These teams, this is the 2 laps these guys have been working for all winter long and for months even before the 2006 season ended.
When the green flag waves, the race is on. If the caution waves, it's over. If they complete the 2 laps, it's over. Martin, Busch, Biffle, Gilliland, Sadler, green flag.
I don't believe he can wait very long, Larry. I believe if you're going to make the move, you got to make it quick. I don't think you can wait too long. If they're going to get him, they need to jump to the outside right away.
Watch your bottom there.
You know he's not going to give up the bottom, so you got to go to the outside.
Still.
Look at the outside line. Jeff Gordon in that 24 car with his teammate Casey Mears, but Casey leaves him out there.
Now, 1 back. All single file behind you. He's coming hard, about half back now.
Now, when these guys on the outside, when they get side by side with these other cars, they're done. We're coming to the white flag.
It's up to the 5 of Kyle Busch. How long can he wait if he's going to go?
Still single file.
White flag, 1 lap to go.
Coming to the white, man. Coming to the white. Single file behind you. 5,
Front
16,
4,
38.
single file.
Here they go. They got to go. They got to get Mark moved. They got to move him somehow.
He gets back to that yellow line right around the bottom, all the way through turn 1 and 2.
Mark Martin is driving the race of his life, and there's nobody that's better at holding people off at Daytona.
And Kyle Busch lagged back a little bit. Is he going to get help? Is he going to come? He's looking.
Back behind you.
He almost squeezed Harvick into the wall, and here comes Harvick, the 29, with Matt Kenseth.
Oh, Mark got loose. Mark got loose.
And Harvick's getting a run off turn 4. It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line.
Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag. Harvick. Kevin Harvick wins the Daytona 500.
We got 1 car on his roof coming across the start-finish line.
Still wrecking. They're wrecking everywhere. Boyer's on fire. Jeff Gordon's wrecked.
And they are still wrecking.
Montoya, Stremme, Kenseth, Biffle, Marlin, Carl Edwards, Casey Mears all crashed on the final lap. Have you ever?
Well, a couple of times.
I'm going to repeat what I heard a few years ago. No, I have never.
I got so excited I broke the damn mirror in half.
Jeff Gordon's day ends about like his teammates.
Clint Bowyer came across the start-finish line on his roof.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
David Stremme's climbed out. He is okay. Sterling Marlin, who slid across to a stop.
Well, Larry, let's see. Are they going to run these cars anymore?
They were intending on it, but I don't think many of them will.
It may be a good time to bring the old car tomorrow out.
What was the margin of victory for Kevin Harvick? Unofficially 2/100ths of a second.
I thought Mark had him. I thought he was going to hold him.
And Mark Martin, a bridesmaid once again.
He's got to be thrilled, though. What a finish.
Bakersfield, California's Kevin Harvick, who took over the seat in what became the 29 after the death of Dale Earnhardt, stormed up the outside. Kyle Busch couldn't hold him off. He had a full head of steam into turn 3.
There was no question you were going to have to go the outside. Mark was not going to give up the inside. What happens back here is Kyle Busch gets on the apron ever so slightly, gets into the 17, and it's on from there. Look at the 38 car up on top of somebody. There's a car turning over.
And look at this finish.
And it's a drag race to the line, and we've seen Harvick do that before.
Yes, we have. You could see Harvick trying to pinch him down to keep that momentum on him.
A little side draft. Get a little side draft and try to pull ahead.
Now, unofficially, Jeff Burton will finish 3rd. Mike Wallace will finish 4th. And the top finishing Roush car, rookie David Reagan in the 6th.
Unbelievable. Kevin Harvick was doing donuts in the grass, and he may have toasted the number 29.
I think he broke another transmission.
Congratulations to Chevy driver Kevin Harvick, winner of the Daytona 500 from Chevy on American Revolution.
What a weekend he's had. Busch race yesterday.
And Mark Martin having a tremendous Daytona 500.
We were ahead, man. I was waiting for him to throw the yellow.
I agree, Mark. I thought maybe they would throw the yellow before they got here, but they didn't.
Third place Jeff Burton congratulates Harvick. And where's the other RCR car? Watch the 07. It'll come in here from the right in the bottom lane. Clint Boyer gets slid sideways. Whammo.
And he'll cross the start-finish line unofficially upside down in the 18th position.
On fire. I mean, that's Joey Chitwood couldn't do that.
Boyer making a hasty exit through a small window opening. That's one of the things that's going to be addressed by the car of tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just glad he's landed back on his wheels with that fire, because he didn't want to be trapped down in there. NASCAR does such a great job. Goodness. That's terrifying.
Sterling Marlin, the 14 car, was spinning down pit road, actually hit the pit wall.
Until now, 1976 and 79 were the wildest Daytona 500 finishes ever. New one for the record books. Matt is with Mark Martin.
And he's climbed from the car. You can see the disappointment on he and his crew members' faces. Mark, first off, take us on that last lap. It looked like basically you had the 5 covered, and then out of nowhere comes the 29.
Well, we saw him up there, and we just doing everything we could. You know, it was a Daytona 500, man. I just want to thank Bobby Ginn and everybody at Ginn Racing, and especially the U.S. Army team. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. They gave me a chance at a Daytona 500. That's all I ever asked. I really hate I let them down. I gave it what I could, but I didn't get it done. I really thought they were going to throw the caution. I was still ahead, and they were wrecking behind, and if they would have just thrown the yellow, it was in our fingers, but they waited and they waited and they waited, and I didn't have any pusher at the end, you know, and he was in the, you know, in the preferred spot for second back forward. But just want to thank everybody for all their support. I wanted to win that thing. They were going to have to pry it out of my fingers, man. And I was looking back to see if we had any help, but I didn't see any back there, and it's just short.
You always try to compartmentalize everything, but did you let yourself begin to think maybe this is the year, looking at the situation?
Hey, this is green-white checkered in the Daytona 500. I knew we had, I knew the race was on, and man, we got so far down the line. I saw him get that run. I tried to block it, and then I got back down, and, you know, minus the wreck and everybody coming through there good with a good pusher, we still had it done. I really still thought, you know, as we entered turn 3, that we were going to get it done, and then they started wrecking, and we were still ahead of him. But, you know, just wasn't meant to be. I didn't get the job done.
Mark Martin finishes second in the Daytona 500.
But boy, he did a whale of a job. You see Kevin Harvick's car sitting in Gatorade Victory Lane. He took the checker under green to decide the winner of the race. The caution immediately followed, so officially the race ends under caution. So now let's go down to Dick Berggren with the GM winning interview.
And Kevin Harvick on his way out. Confetti. Son of, oh man, what a mess down here. Hey Kevin, where did you get that head of steam at the end of the race to win the Daytona 500?
Well, I had Jeff Burton behind Matt Kenseth, and Kenseth just pushed the hell out of me there. This Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet got a little hot. We had to come in and take some tape off. We had a hole in the nose, and man, my go-kart experience over the winter paid off because I didn't let off the floor, and we just kept hitting things in the wall and just bouncing off everything. But man, this is a Daytona 500. Can you believe it? That was just do
you believe it?
I can't believe it. I mean, we were 30-something there with 15 laps to go, and we came up through there. But just got to thank Richard and Todd Berry and all these guys just for an awesome race car.
Congratulations to you. Well done, Mike.
Protege of Rick Corelli, the Bakersfield, California racer. Wife Delana embracing him. Today, the Daytona 500 has changed the life of Kevin Harvick forever.
Dadgum, it makes me, you know, Daytona puts tears in the eyes. I don't care whether you're down there or up here. It's what an accomplishment.
They are crying in celebration, and others will be crying in frustration. Let's have a look at what happened here on the final lap.
Look where Harvick is, coming down the back.
But look at this run he got. He called it, Matt Kenseth, in that 17 car. You see Kyle Busch tried to go up and block, but he had such a head of steam it was too late.
Yeah, I think all that moving around is probably what got Kyle. It messed his entry up into turn 3, and then I think it might have just upset his car a little bit, and he gets loose right there under a Kenseth 17 car, and it's on from there.
And at the wire, Harvick, because of that push down the backstretch, got out front of Mark Martin. Mark comes back and comes oh so close.
But you know what? I'm glad NASCAR let them finish the race.
Yes,
there's
definitely.
no reason that the cars are wrecking behind them, not in front of them.
It was not going to change a thing.
Not a thing.
For the 4th time, the winner of the Busch race on Saturday wins the Daytona 500. Dale Jr. 2004, Darrell Waltrip in '89, Bobby Allison in 1988 won Saturday and Sunday. Krista?
Well, Jeff Burton finishes 3rd, but I got to ask, you had your current teammate racing your former teammate. I know a lot of loyalties, a lot of emotions for you. A great day for you. What about the 1-2 finish for Kevin and Mark?
Well, I had a great seat for it. I came off turn 4 and it got really wild. And the last 40 laps were just crazy, insane. And I'm a huge Mark Martin fan, one of the best people in our sport. I hated to see him lose. I'm a huge Kevin Harvick fan and an RCR fan, obviously, and love to see him win. So mixed emotions there. Mark Martin's a deserving champion. He's one of the greatest drivers our sport's ever seen and one of the greatest people our sport's ever seen. Kevin's a hard-nosed driver and one of the greatest people too. So they both deserve it, and I'm glad we came out on top. It's big for RCR. It's big for us to finish 3rd. We were in about 5 wrecks and never hit anything hard enough to knock us out, and we just kept digging.
The competition is what makes the sport and this race, Mike Joyce, so exciting.
Thank you, Krista. Kevin Harvick is the 31st driver to win the Daytona 500 as Chevrolet sweeps the first 4 finishing positions. David Reagan, the first Ford, is 5th. Elliott Sadler, the first Dodge, is 6th. More from Daytona after this.
An amazing finish in the 2007 Daytona 500. Watch the 29 car. Kevin Harvick shooting to the front past the veteran Mark Martin in a photo finish, 2/100ths of a second. Harvick winning his first Daytona 500. He appeared on photo finish on the NASCAR on Fox pre-race show. Everybody okay in the wreck behind. A crazy go-nuts finish in the Daytona 500. Harvick, remember, a little bit eerie, took over the ride for Dale Earnhardt, who on this date back in 2001, we lost him here at Daytona. So Harvick coming back to win for Richard Childress Racing. Last time Richard Childress Racing won the Daytona 500 was with Dale Earnhardt in 1998. And these are the unofficial results here in the top 10. You see Mark Martin at a Chevrolet finishing 2nd. And the remaining group, Toyota, Dale Jarrett at 23rd, the highest finishing Toyota. The rookie Juan Pablo Montoya transferring over from F1, winding up 19th and avoiding numerous wrecks in the closing moments. Again, these the unofficial results. 5 drivers without their regular crew chiefs. Elliott Sadler finishing 6th, and Tony Stewart with Kurt Busch, 2 of the stronger cars, involved in a wreck just a little bit earlier as Happy Harvick celebrates. And what a story for him. First restrictor plate victory in his Cup career with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, and thanks for being with us for NASCAR on Fox. And was it the right call, NASCAR not throwing the caution? You heard Mark Martin's words. You saw the great finish.
I saw the great finish, Chris, and the thing is right now, we started this Speed Weeks off with controversy, and I'm sure we're going to end this Speed Weeks with somebody saying, well, why didn't they throw the caution? Mark had it. We don't know until you go back and really check everything over. It was NASCAR's decision, but it was a fantastic finish no matter how you cut it.
Early on, you tipped us off. Jeff Burton, who was last year's pole sitter with Richard Childress Racing, about those 2 cars. Harvick was 7th when we had the restart with the 2 laps to go. And really, it's the Daytona 505 because we had to go overtime, as Mike Joy pointed out, because of the green-white checker. So how was Harvick able to maintain that position and make it up at the last moment?
I think everybody was so concentrating on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to protect the bottom. They left the outside wide open. He was able to get a push where he needed it. And basically, he threw caution to the wind. We kept talking about it all day long. When you get down to the end of this race, there's no friends out there, and you're not going to win it unless you take a chance. He took the chance. He was able to thread the needle, and in the end, he was able to come off with one whale of a victory.
Talk about the bottom of the racetrack. Kevin Harvick on top of the world, and on top of his car, at least his car flipping over on top, was Clint Bowyer in the 07 in flames at the back half of that finish, and he's standing by with our Steve Burns.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. As Kevin Harvick celebrates, Clint Bowyer's car is an absolute mess. What happened coming off turn 4, Clint?
Man, I tell you, I saw the 5 get turned sideways, and I thought I cleared him. Thought I was out of the deal, and he got out of an unscathed, and somebody just clipped us in the right rear, and away she went. But it's just unfortunate. I made a mistake there coming on the pit road, and you know, it cost us a lap there, and we got it back, and the guys never gave up. Had good pit stops and everything we needed. You know, I really thought we ended up better than 18th. Need to look into that a little bit, because I really thought we ended up a little better than that. If we're going to end up on our lid, we better end up better than that, huh?
All right, we'll see you in California. Thanks, Clint. Mike?
Thanks, Steve. The favorite, Tony Stewart, got taken out of the race in a crash that looked eerily similar to the one that claimed Dale Earnhardt in 2001. And out with him went the driver who led the most laps, Kurt Busch. Kevin Harvick led only 4 laps today. Boy, he led the right one.
Boy, he did, and I think NASCAR made the right call. And Mark said it best. This is the Daytona 500. Everything's happening behind them guys. Throwing a caution wasn't going to make any difference. Let them race to the line. I feel sorry for Mark. I like seeing him win, but pretty happy for a happy Harvick, too.
Larry, you can prepare and work on that car all day long. The best you can do, Richard Petty often said, put yourself in a position to win. Circumstances will dictate the outcome.
And it did, Mike. And, I mean, I was so impressed with these guys. For the first 150-something laps, we had 3 cautions, and it really was not a big wreck. One was even a debris caution. But the sun went down, the moon came up. The crew chiefs of spotters said, boys, 25 laps to go in the Daytona 500. So definitely those next 3 cautions made a huge difference in the outcome of this race.
This finish, Ricky Bobby. The Daytona Nights couldn't have been any better.
I watched that last night to prepare for tonight. One other thing, the full moon. There's an old superstition in racing that on a full moon night, wild things happen, and they sure did tonight. Chris?
Only Darrell could sum it up referencing Ricky Bobby. Everybody take a deep breath. It was a great finish. What are we going to see next week? Next Sunday, NASCAR and Fox heading to California. Matt Kenseth took home the checkered flag. Remember, engine troubles kept Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle from winning that race. So tune in to find out the Auto Club 500 presented by Q next Sunday. That's at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, in high definition right here on Fox. And if we come back into our studio, the Harley J. Earl Trophy, named after the automobile designer that you just saw Kevin Harvick holding. This one next year will be the 50th running of the Daytona 500. Jeff Hammond, of course, NASCAR on Fox. The next 7 Daytona 500s will be right here.
I think I'm going to take this home and just kind of keep it with me till next year.
No, we have secure anything gold you can't hold on to. Jeff, as we look ahead to next week, the Daytona 500 is one thing. We got to think about the chase for the championship. Races are so much more important now because of victories, the points that are awarded to the winning drivers.
And right now, Kevin Harvick gets the benefit of those bonus points already, and it looks like RCR Racing is coming out and trying to reestablish themselves one more time as being a contender for the championship early on.
Jack Roush, Roush Fenway Racing, the curse continues for him. More than 60 entries in his career at the Daytona 500, no victory. His former driver, Mark Martin, his best finish ever here.
Came close, very close. And we were sentimental favorite, but right now, hey, this one's in the books. It's time to go to California.
For Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, thanks for watching NASCAR on Fox and the Daytona 500. We'll see you next week from California.
About that! Yeah!